мэдээж би та бүхэн тодорхойлох хэсгээр сайхан энэ удаагийн дугаарыг хүрэхэд бэлэн боллоо. Бидний энэ өдрийн зочноор олон улсын буддийн нийгэмлэгийн тэргүүн Bhante Wimala гэх хүн оролцож байгааг би та бүхэн танилцуулах таатай байна. Thank you very much for your time to receive us. And I'd like to talk more about what is the purpose in Mongolia and more about that humanity project. So, is this your first time in Mongolia?
This is my second visit. First time I came about 16 years ago, and I help with some Buddhist study programs and some small social welfare projects. Now I'm back again after 16 years.
Oh, so what's the purpose?
This time I'm interested in exploring, finding possibilities of helping homeless old people. But also we help the emergency doctors. In Mongolia, there is an emergency doctors group. One of the doctors that I met in Philippines while I was doing humanitarian projects requested me to help to create and furnish and equip a room for the doctors. So I'm here for that as well.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So I've heard you have done a lot of projects in Mongolia, like especially I heard from someone who's educational ministry that you've sent some students to abroad.
Yes.
How are they doing?
Very well, because I sent 6 girls to Korea and sponsored 5 boys to Sri Lanka. Out of that, only one boy is left in Sri Lanka. He's now doing master's degree on Buddhist philosophy.
Are they all in Buddhist philosophy or
yes,
different subjects?
Yes, they were sent to a special Buddhist education program. And another one is already, he's here. He's back a year ago. He finished his BA degree and now he's back in Mongolia. So I'm also trying to see how I can integrate them or support them to achieve our original goal of providing Buddhist education and Buddhist counseling and somehow setting up some programs for the Buddhist education of young generation. So
they sponsored by whom? By you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, because we are wondering, like, why are you helping them, or why are you doing all the humanity works around the world through your life? So it's interesting.
Yeah, well, first time I started to focus on Buddhist studies program, Tok met me because when I came here for a conference, she explained to me about the history of Buddhism in the country and the changes that has happened after communism and needing more support and help to reconnect with that history and hand over this culture and tradition and belief system into the next generation. So there was not a lot of support. A lot of Christian missionaries were coming here and getting involved with all kinds of programs to promote and convert. And there was also concern for that. So I was suggesting 3 program with 3 aspects. One is to set up Sunday schools for young people. So once a week they could come and have a Buddhist education. And the other is to print the reading material and distribute them so that the ordinary people will have access to the teachings of the Buddha, because they know only by belief, and there were not enough reading material, there were not enough classes and activities for them to learn about the teachings of the Buddha. And the third is to send out girls and boys to Buddhist countries and give them a leadership training. So when they come back, they will be able to to use their knowledge to work with the culture here and tradition, and then because everybody, all the people by heart, they're Buddhist, and there is a certain sense of a connection with the history, with the past, with their roots for a long time. So I started that project because of a request from the ministry and from Tok Tok and some other people who are concerned.
Yeah, but what's the main purpose? Like humanitarian projects or developing Buddhist doctrine?
I think in my life, I have dedicated, let's say, mostly last 35 years to promote Buddhism and teach meditation and Buddhist spiritual teachings so that people could be rich from inside. People can learn to use the wisdom in their hearts, and people can benefit from these incredible teachings, philosophy and psychology of the teachings of the Buddha. So that is what I do mainly. I travel when I go on teaching tours in the United States. I teach in universities, colleges, and schools, and churches. And then the other aspect of my life is about serving humanity. And wherever there is disaster, there is suffering, there is illness, there is discomfort, I think when I'm called, and when people request me, I go on requests.
So everywhere,
the same thing, because I did not come here on my own. There was a request to come here again for the second time. When I met this doctor, and he was talking about, she sent me the pictures of homeless people and how they go and treat them. And I thought, yes, it will be a great idea if I were to go there, and even if I can help 50 families.
Continue back to the subject.
So I was talking about the second aspect of myself, because I feel very lucky and very fortunate. I was blessed in many ways. So I believe that the blessings has to pass through me. So it shouldn't stop at me. When somebody give me $1,000, it shouldn't stop me. I think it should flow through me for the benefit of others. So all the resources and the good friends, very capable and people who have resources, I know so many of them.
So you're using the capacity to another.
Exactly. So I believe that I can use the blessings, the connections that I have to alleviate the suffering of others that exist in many forms. Yesterday we went to visit homeless people. We gave them blankets, and we went to visit an old age home, and we went to an orphanage. So it all, when I go and visit, if I see that some of my efforts can change the lives of these people who are less fortunate or who are suffering, and then I will step in and to say, I will do this.
Right now, how many countries you've been working with the humanitarian projects?
Many countries. I have worked in Pakistan after earthquake, and I did many projects in Bangladesh after cyclone, and Burma after cyclone. I was there, and Japan after the tsunami. We were doing some projects in Africa, in many countries. I'm not married. Theravada monks from our tradition, from Sri Lanka, we don't get married.
Please let us know, what's the difference between this? I thought there's only one branch on Buddhist things. So.
No, in our Buddhism, they have two main branches of Buddhism. One is called Theravada Buddhism, which is known as the teachings of the elders. And that I belong to Thailand, Sri Lanka, Burma, Vietnam, Cambodia. These are Theravada Buddhist countries. These are teachings of the elders. They are trying to follow the more conservative form of Buddhism and stay close to the original teachings and integrate that into personal transformation and spiritual awakening.
But what's ours? Mongolians are the
yes,
different
in
one,
Tibet,
right?
or in Mongolia,
Mongolia,
in China, in Korea,
Uh-huh.
there is mostly, it's called Mahayana Buddhism, and this is also known as Great Vehicle tradition. So these are more reformed culturally and traditionally. Like here, the monks get married and stay with their families and go to the temple to do the special things. So these are more reformed. They have adjusted and adapted into different changing environments and accommodated the many other existing belief systems into the system. So, but when you go into the heart of the teachings of the Buddha, it still remains the same. So
it begins to the one point, right?
yes. So what I think is, because I am not married, I'm not supposed to marry as young as Theravada monks. I have time and energy and enthusiasm and compassion. I feel like I can dedicate my life to go where I'm needed, to understand the problems that exist, and find the resources that I need, and help the people and experience this social transformation. Because when people are hungry and when people are sick, when people have no place to sleep, you can't teach them spirituality. You can't. It's not meditation. You cannot teach them, because you need to make sure every human being on this planet deserve simple, basic needs for survival. When they are deprived of these simple, basic needs of food and healthcare and shelter and other fellow human beings should share and be concerned and express their compassion. So this is why I would say there are two sides. Teach the philosophy, the psychology, and spirituality, spiritual teachings of Buddhism, and then on the other side, bring compassion that Buddha taught us into action by getting engaged in real actions that change, transform the lives of others that are less fortunate or sick. Because I can say I practice compassion meditation or loving kindness meditation, but if I go out there and see the suffering of somebody and do something to alleviate that suffering, I think I'm expressing compassion in action. And this make me spiritually stronger, because I care. When we care about other fellow human beings, when we nurture the caring nature in us, it lifts our spirit.
Yeah.
It brings meaning to our lives.
Because I was wondering, like, Buddha or Buddhism is the one thing, so why there should be have like two different branches? So that was I was wondering. But to being a human, to develop our spiritual thing, why this is important for us?
Because in human psyche, because of the process of evolution and survival necessity, we have a lot of elements, if we don't eliminate from within us, can work against us. Which means that if you develop anger, aggression, violence, selfishness, self-centeredness, and if you lose your ability to become loving and caring and compassionate, your life become torturous. You're going to experience so much suffering yourself, you're going to cause suffering to others. You understand? So the purpose of the teachings of the Buddha is to to train the mind so that it will not act from the triggers of this genetic or instinct. Rather, we will have control of our minds, and we will also act from a place of wisdom in our hearts, because when the mind becomes more chaotic and confused, and the heart shrinks, because your ability to become kind, loving, caring, compassionate become less and less and less. As your heart begins to become smaller and smaller, your suffering becomes more and more and more and more. You become more and more unhappy. So you become spiritual because you want to discover the potential within you, a real human potential that we have to be truly compassionate and caring and loving and forgiving and wise person. Because what happens outside of us
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, because
we don't care.
The world will be what it is.
Yeah.
Even 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years, people were fighting, people were doing bad things, people hating each other, people were killing each other. Those things are going to go on around us. But as individual, and if you turn more into the teachings of the Buddha and cultivate your peace of mind and come into a more centered, focused state of mind, your ability to become more heart-centered person grows, and then you have the strength,
not selfish,
and courage.
Yeah.
You become less selfish. As a result, outside problems disturb you less or don't disturb you. You engage them with more of that spiritual awareness, spiritual understanding, and selfless understanding, selfless caring.
People are very curious about what is the meaning of this life. So, as a religious person, for you, what is this life like? What is the meaning of this life? What's the angle?
Well, I would just change it to a little bit to say, how do we find meaningful life?
Yeah.
What ways can we find meaning in life? Because, for example, anybody whose mind is lost in negative chaos, confusion and anger and hatred, bitterness, anybody's mind which is filled with negativity, that person's life is a struggle. That person's life is meaningless. And that is why when that negative intensity grows to a point where that person cannot control anymore, that person can take his own life or her own life, because everything is useless, meaningless.
Yes.
We feel meaningless.
Yeah.
You feel meaningless because your intensity of negative emotions take over your mind, and it become a very painful, burdensome mental state. Then life becomes less meaningful and struggle, painful. But if you discover more the wisdom in your heart, and when you cultivate that peace and clarity and harmony and remove these negative emotions and train the mind to become more positive, and whatever you do become very meaningful because it touches you and it touches somebody else. When I come to Mongolia, when I went to the streets and see a homeless person, I give a blanket, I smile, I talk to them, and I sit in the car, I have a meaningful moment. You understand? Because my heart, I do it from my heart. I'm not asking anything from them for me.
Yes.
I'm seeing that their condition, I'm understanding their condition. So when we have the ability to become more loving, our life become more meaningful. Because if you are not a loving person, no matter how much other people love you, your life become meaningless. But when you are truly a loving person, that energy brings you meaning to your life. So if your heart is dry, you're not capable of feeling the positive, nurturing power of love from within, your life become meaningless. Because when you become more a loving person for yourself, whenever you express love, it touches somebody else in the same way that, you can think simply a moment where you feel genuinely kind to somebody. In that moment, you feel so happy and you feel so meaningful in that moment. But if you think about a moment you are totally crazy and angry and bitter and hurt somebody, you step back and that moment is completely useless moment, a meaningless moment. You feel so we need to find meaning in our daily matters by bringing more wisdom, more compassion, more love, more caring, more unselfishness, more forgiveness. So it is available for all of us.
So that's perfect then.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. This is my last question. When did you start the projects in when will you start the last projects in Mongolia? Like that homeless person or
I'm
that
waiting
Sunday
for the
school?
proposal in a day or two from this the head of the provincial chief, or what is this?
Yeah.
He will present me a proposal,
Okay.
and then we will follow up on that. So I'm waiting for a proposal. I'm expecting to come back within few months. Hopefully.
Is it only starting at one district?
Yes, because it is so important to when you help others, it's very important to start small and have a good foundation and slowly extend it. Because otherwise, you try to do big things, everything fall apart, and you can't manage it well. So my system always has been, and start small, and if you have trustworthy people, and if your work has brought help to the people we intend to provide help, if people are not cheating and stealing, and if there is some kind of a reliable system that I can create, then I think things can go on for a long time.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you very much for your time. And I appreciate your project ideas in Mongolia.
Thank you.
Thank you. Үзэгчтэй бүхний анхаарлаа хандуулсан баярлалаа. Би тодорхойлогдсон нэвтрүүлгийн хаянуудын дугаараар олон улсын буддийн нэг эмнэлгийн тэргүүн лам Bhante Wimalаг урьж оролцууллаа.